Welcome to Monster Monday. So before anyone asks, this is my dad's other spare room. There you go. I'm just gonna start recording at a different location every time. Everyone's always so curious where I'm recording. I don't know why, but there you go. All right, so Dawn of the Dead, or as it should be called, Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead, Land of the Living Dead. It should match up. It annoys me a little bit that the titles are different, but it is what it is. That being said, I mean, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, I was kind of trying to look for a connection. The only connection I found was that in the opening of this, it's a news broadcast, and they're talking about putting names of locations for people to go up on screen, even though they're like, those places aren't even there anymore. You know, Fran's like yelling at them about that. But they watch TV in the first one, in Night, and they see locations up on the screen. Any other connection, I did not see it, but if you know of one and you're more of a Dead franchise trivial guy than I am, let me know what the connections are, because I'm not seeing many, if any, which isn't necessary. I mean, you can just show it from different points of view all across the world and never have any connections. Totally fine. But the fact that the first one takes place in 68 and is clearly in 68, and this one is clearly in 78, I mean, was there a 10-year hiatus? Like, did a little outbreak happen, then they contained it, and then it happened again? I don't know. I mean, they don't mention any radiation from Jupiter in this one. In fact, the only mention of, like, what happened, they don't even really address that almost at all, that I noticed. But you have Peter with his famous line, you know, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. When he's talking about that, he talks about his grandfather, I want to say, and that there's some voodoo thing, which voodoo is usually the origin of zombies as we used to know them. So maybe they're thinking more along the lines of religious or voodoo, witchcraft, whatever. I don't know. So there isn't consistency there either. So I don't even know if these are supposed to be set in the same world. Like, are Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead supposed to be set in the same world? Did he just make two zombie movies and that's why he changed the titles? I mean, but it's the fact that it's night and now this is dawn and the next one's day. I mean, it's clearly an attempt to be, you know, a series. But yeah, there's no attention to connection in, you know, at all. So that is what it is. All right, so we've got Dario Argento working on a decent amount of this. You've got him as a script consultant, so he came in to, I don't know, I guess look over the script and give them ideas. And I will say the blood in this is very, very Argento, so maybe he came on and talked to Savini and was like, hey, that blood needs to be way brighter, way, way more red. And he also does Argento works with Goblin and does the music for this movie, and it's very Goblin throughout. So that's, I mean, to see a merging of Dario Argento and Romero, like the Two Evil Eyes, it's cool to see that collaboration in here. And the music is great, although of course it's a little more upbeat, but there is kind of a silliness to this movie too. There's a playfulness to this movie. A good amount of this movie is actually fairly playful, almost Evil Dead-ish at times, like Evil Dead 2 anyway. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it breaks up the seriousness of the film, but the film plays fairly silly a decent amount of the time, like majority of the time, I would say. But then the other parts are like super serious. So it's an uneven tone, I guess, but it still works somehow. So yeah, we've got Fran, Steven, Peter, and Roger, and they take off when they decide like all hell's broken loose. They're gonna get out of here. Peter and Roger barely know each other. They like meet. I don't know why Roger brings Peter along. I guess because he just seems like a clear-headed guy who's, you know, was helping them out. So he's like, hey, come with me. You know, I need another soldier. I mean, if I was Roger, I would have grabbed a chick and him, maybe, you know, maybe 2 chicks and him. Have one for Peter. I mean, I'm going somewhere. I want to go with a lady. And then we got Fran and Steven, who are a couple in this. And I'm not going to say this is a flaw in the film by any means, but the relationship between Steven and Fran is not great. Like, I like that they're not really that great of a couple, though. I just wish that it was handled a little better, because when Steven dies at the end and Fran sees him come through the door and has confirmation that the father of her child is dead, she's got like a dead reaction. You know, it's like there doesn't seem to be much love there. Now, as I said, that's not a knock, because I know plenty of relationships like that. Shit, I was in one. So I get it, but it doesn't make for dramatic moments, like, at all. Like, I feel like Peter really tries to elevate their relationship. You know, he has that dinner party thing for them to try to maybe rekindle something. I think maybe where they lose, like, maybe where Fran's last straw with Steven is when he's talking to Peter and Roger about an abortion. And he isn't immediately like, oh, hell no, like, I want this kid. So I think that's really just kind of, maybe they were already on the verge of, you know, not being together. You know, maybe they were on the verge of breaking up before this whole thing happens. We don't know. But I think it's in that moment where because then they I think it's the next scene, or it's just somewhere along the way, this is after he asks her to marry him, and she says no, and, you know, it wouldn't be real, quote unquote. And then they show them in bed together, clearly after a failed sexual experience, or either it was that or the sex was terrible. Whatever it was, they're laying in bed together, very miserable with one another, which is fine, because, as I said, I mean, you're kind of stuck in the apocalypse with a person you don't even like, and you're pregnant with their kid. I mean, you want to talk about horror. There you go. And that probably speaks to some of the social commentaries of this film, which is, of course, the brain dead people who just stalk around the mall and don't even know why they want to be in there, but they just need to consume. That might play into that as well, of like loveless marriages and staying together for the kids and whatever, being trapped, so to speak. So I guess that could add to it. I don't know. They do say that the zombies in this need to eat to survive. I don't see any evidence of that in this film, because they cut, like, once they clear the mall out, they cut to like months later, because Fran is like not showing, and then she's like fully showing. So months have passed, and these zombies are still out there. And they actually do refer to them as zombies in this film one time. If you put on the subtitles, which I did because my kids were here and I couldn't hear very well. So I threw on the subtitles, making sure. And subtitles are good. I feel like I should have subtitles on at all times when I'm going to review something on the channel, because you catch more words than you would just audibly. Like, there are things that are lost in translation a little bit, whether it's an audio thing or an accent, or, you know, quieter voice or said under the breath, whatever. Subtitles are definitely important for this kind of stuff. And in the subtitles, it always constantly says zombies growling, zombies moan, whatever. But only one time is the word zombie uttered in this film, and it is by Peter. And it's when the bikers are going to break in, and he says something like, there's going to be 1,000 zombies walking around in here, or whatever. So he does refer to them as zombies, and I don't know. I will be definitely looking out for the next usage of the word zombie within this franchise. But I did at least found one. Now, when the cops are raiding this place in the beginning of the movie, And I'm not really honestly sure what they're doing. I think because they say on the TV that they're like, that no one's allowed to stay at their private residence anymore, and that they all need to go to relief centers or whatever. I don't think that is what it is exactly. It looks more like a drug raid or something. Like the way they're calling out like a leader specifically, I don't know. I don't know what this scene is. But they go in there. The guy that they shoot that has like the mustache and everything in the beard, that guy's painted, right? Like that's like a white guy with like brown face. Not black face, but like brown face. Right? I mean, am I crazy on that? That's like a white dude with makeup trying to look like Puerto Rican or something, whatever the hell they're fucking trying to make this guy look like. I was laughing because I was like, there's no way that that's actually what that guy looks like. Like they couldn't find a guy with brown skin to play that role. That was making me laugh. And of course, I think that kind of plays into another social commentary of the time, racism within the police department. And this big freaking racist moron who goes in there and just starts shooting people up and kicks that door open and blows that guy's head off. There's the opportune moment to talk about Tom Savini's special effects work in this, which is really fun. Like, this is just fun gore. And I'm not gonna say it's excellent, like, because I think that's what people get wrapped up in. I said this before. I was talking about how I don't hold anything sacred, and to me, better is better. Now, there's gore nowadays that's phenomenal because it looks ultra realistic, like crazy. Like you can't even, like I look at it, I'm like, how the hell did they do that? That looks like a human body being torn apart right now. Like that legit looks incredible. But almost no one will give any of those kinds of movies credit much. They won't hold them on a pedestal like they will with this. And as much as I love the gore in this film, and when I have nostalgia for the gore as well. But like, for instance, like when that dude comes out of the apartment and his wife or his sister or his girlfriend, whatever the fuck that girl is, and she runs over and she gives him a hug and he looks at her and he bites into her shoulder. Awesome effect, okay, right? It's great for its time, for sure. But it's so unbelievably clearly fake. That's not a knock, because that might just be what they're going for. I don't honestly think they were capable of making it look ultra realistic at that time. But for the film, it's fine. It works. It's great. And I love it. I'm not knocking it. I just wish that people would see it for what it is and be like, oh, that's the top tier. That's the pinnacle of gore. And it's like, okay, I understand this is the roots of it. I think this is where, gore was really starting to hit its stride in mainstream cinema like this. But, I mean, if you watch something like, I think 2012, right? 2012's Maniac with Elijah Wood. There's some gore in there, like when they're ripping him apart and they like dig into his flesh and stuff. That looks like a real human body being torn up. It's wild shit, man. And to compare it to this just doesn't look real. None of it looks real. Things look fake as fuck. It's fine, but I just wish people would be more honest about that kind of stuff. But regardless, I still love it, and I'm sure that's more of what they're talking about, is that they just love it. They love how intense it is. And maybe they prefer it to be. I definitely think there's some validity to that they love that it looks fake, because that way they can it's more of entertainment. It's more fictionalized. So they get the thrill and the gore and all of that stuff, but it doesn't have to look so real that they feel like disgusted or overwhelmed by it. So I think there could be something to be said for that. I personally prefer, I don't really prefer it anyway, but if I'm gonna put it in, it depends on the movie. If it's ridiculous, fun, silly, like an Evil Dead or something, I want it to look fake. I want it to look ridiculous. But I guess I guess going back to what I said, if I'm gonna prefer something, I want it to look realistic. I mean, if they were to say, okay, like we're going to put either all goofy gore in movies or all real gore in movies, like realistic, super ultra gory, freaking insane realistic stuff. Look at like, you know, Rambo 4 or Hacksaw Ridge or something. You want to see like very realistic looking gore. I prefer that. I prefer that. So, anyways, I talked about gore for a while here, but you know, it's something I love very, very much, and of course, I wanted to talk about it because this is one of the most praised gore films ever. It's not just the practicals; it's the gore itself. Because you want to look at like The Thing, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love the practicals in that." It's the more the monster creature effects, more so than the gore of the film. This is like one of the top tier level gore hounds' favorite films because the gore, like, there's so much in this movie, and I do love it. But anyway, all right, moving on from that. And there's a cut scene in like a director's cut or something, because there are different cuts of this film. There's the zombie cut, that's the Argento cut, which I do own. And then there is, and I don't know if this makes it into the zombie cut because I've only watched that once. But there's a scene where when they're all getting on the helicopter, that guy who asks them for a cigarette, they were actually like trying to hijack their helicopter, if I remember correctly. And then somehow they like talk them out of it, or something happens where they all just leave. I can't remember exactly how that scene plays out. It's been a while since I've seen it. But and that's why they're a dick to him. And they're like, he's like, "Do you have any cigarettes?" And they're like, "Nope." And then they all light up. The look on his face when they're like, when he's like, "We're going up," and he's just like, that guy, is he supposed to be like insanely moronic? I mean, he is, obviously. It's just, he's so unbelievably dumb. He's so unbearably dumb. But I still love the look he has anyway. And I love that they once again address that the rednecks absolutely love embracing their Second Amendment rights here to bear arms and go out and fucking just shoot these zombies, and they have such a fun time of it. Now, this is further proof to me that the zombie outbreak would not be that hard to take care of. Like, they kind of illustrate it very perfectly in this film. If a bunch of rednecks can just go out with some guns and easily dismantle a bunch of zombies, then the army with tanks and everything couldn't? Come on, that's so dumb. I mean, you just got to look past that stuff, though. Getting into the logic of these movies is silly in itself, but I do always want to kind of address it because it is so dumb to me. But you definitely, I mean, you know, as much as I may not get along with the gun-toting rednecks, those are definitely the guys you want to know if something like this happened. So you'd want to like go or knock on their door and be like, "Hey, remember how I was a dick to you, you know, many, many times? Well, let's forget about all of that. I need a place to crash for the rest of my life, so help me out." And Steven's an idiot. You know, I kind of get why Fran's not into him. He is kind of a bumbling idiot throughout this movie. Like, I guess maybe he's just not useful outside of his piloting skills. You know, when it comes to like fighting, he's useless. And he almost kills Peter. You know, when he comes over and he has like this hammer or something, and he swings it, and he like hits the fucking zombie in the side of his chest, and like the way he hits him, it's like, what in the fuck was that? What was that move that he goes up and bodies this guy? It's such a weird looking scene, and it's when they're filling up the helicopter with gas, and then the zombie comes up and gets the top of his head cut off, which is great. And I'm, you know, curious on how they pulled that off, but really good. And then you get the kid scene where Peter has to plug a couple kids. That always must be kind of hard. I guess maybe if you lived in the zombie apocalypse for a while, kids would then start not being so hard to kill. But at first, even though they're attacking you and everything, like killing little kids would always be kind of hard to your mind. Now, I will say Roger is my favorite character in this movie. I really like him a lot. I like his energy. I like everything about the guy. He does lose his mind, and it does cost him his life, which is a damn shame. And I feel like as smart as the mall idea is, they do a lot of stupid shit. A lot of dumb shit that you're just like, why not do it like this? I try not to question that stuff in these movies because it's just, I like the way it's presented. The style of this film is very Argento for Romero. Like the way that there's some shots in this film that feel very Argento. But yeah, when they're out there and they're getting the trucks and they're like jumping from one truck to the next and all that, it's like, what are you guys doing? There's such a better way to do these things. Like, you have trucks. Run them the fuck over, Like, get them all together in a row. Like, have them, like pile up next to the truck, you know, sit in there, tap on the window, and then have another truck come by and just smash them all. Okay? You just got rid of a whole herd of them. And then do it again, and boom. You could kill 20, 30 of them at a time. I mean, how many could there be in the area? Not a lot, and they're so fucking slow that you just, you know, once you got enough cleared out, then you jump out and you get into the other truck. You don't do it when there's 30 fucking zombies right at the door and you're having to try to push through them. That's so stupid. I mean, it makes for good tension and whatnot in the film, but you still sit there and go, what are you guys, fucking morons? Yeah, I mean, they are. They are. The way they handle a lot of things in this. Like, why even go down and run through them in the mall? Fucking, we see that Roger is a sharpshooter. He's like, does not miss. So why not just, once the mall is closed up, barring that Roger didn't get bit by this point, because he wouldn't have had he listened to my idea, he could just sit up there, you know, just have everybody kind of get around him. And if any zombies come up, just have Peter shoot him in the fucking head at close range with a pistol. And then boom, Roger just boom, boom, boom from distance. Like, why are they running through there? It just, that kind of stuff is silly to me. Like, it's just, but it's fine. I love the movie. This sounds like critiques, and I'm only critiquing character decisions, but the film has nostalgia. If this film was made today and all of these same decisions were made, people would rip this apart. But it's got that nostalgia armor. It's just, you know, the older it gets, the more armor that it puts on. Like another layer of armor. Like, nope, nothing wrong with this film. Nothing wrong with character decisions. Nothing wrong with anything. And even if there is, people are always like, oh, come on, it was the 70s. Okay, that's fine, but I'm still gonna, I mean, people in the 70s still had brains, right? People in the 70s still wouldn't make these decisions, period. So I'm gonna call them out because it's fun. I still love the movie. I still give it a 10 out of 10. Like, this is a masterpiece of zombie cinema, for sure. I mean, it's iconic. It's a classic. Never gonna take that away from it, and my nostalgia for it is very high. Honestly, though, I will say I've probably only seen this movie 10 times or less. I haven't seen this one a ton. Like, I know there's people who love this movie and have seen it fucking 100 times. But, no, I haven't seen it that many times. I've probably seen it... I watched it a decent amount when I was a kid, so maybe 20. Somewhere. But in the last, like, 15 years, I've probably watched it twice. So I haven't watched it a lot in my older years when I'm actually going to be able to remember things. And, all right. So Steven running around in the steam room and firing his gun, and there's just ricochets right and left, is just so dumb. Like, why wouldn't you wait for the zombie to actually be in front of you for him to shoot? Like, it's slow. Like, just push your back up against something where he can't get you and just wait for a minute and he'll show himself. You know, tap on the fucking pipes. He'll come. You know, it's just but it's heightened tension, right? Like, it's just tactics in the film. They just throw away logic and they say, we're going to set this scene up and we're going to have these characters do these specific things to heighten tension. Whether or not our audience believes they'll do it or not, it's purely cinematic. You know, it's for cinematic reasons. And I get that. I do understand it. But when you're doing a review like this, you want to call out the realism as well. So, but it is a cool scene when it comes to the atmosphere of it. Like when he's in there and the camera angles and the way that they pan around and the way that you see the zombie just kind of disappearing around another corner, and you know, the shadows and the noises and the ricochets and all that stuff. It's great. His character decisions are idiotic, but it's still a great scene regardless. So even though the idea of the mall is a good one in theory, I don't buy it at all. I don't buy that there would be a completely unlooted mall that's completely locked down and no one has tried to get in. Bullshit. Bullshit. And that gun store, that fucking gun store in a mall, wow, that was a thing. Doesn't surprise me, but Jesus, we definitely would not have one of those now. Not anywhere where I'd be, you know, where I would hang out. Maybe in other states they have something like that. But no mall I've ever been to has some huge hunting store like that, which is, yeah, I mean, that's convenient. And there's not a gun missing. That thing hasn't been looted. That thing hasn't been taken apart. Bullshit. Bullshit, that thing is still there. But whatever. The most memorable zombie in this film to me is the Hare Krishna zombie. I have to say, anytime I think of this movie and a zombie pops into my head, it's the Hare Krishna zombie. In the first one, it's probably the main zombie that attacks her brother in the opening. It's probably the go-to zombie in my head. Or maybe the kid in the basement. And then, of course, in the next one, you know who that's going to be. It's the main zombie of the movie. It's kind of what the whole movie's based around. And then the black dude, the bald black guy from Land of the Dead, he's the obvious one. I actually saw him at Mad Monster. We'll talk about that when I get to that movie, though. I like that, Fran kind of puts her foot down and is like, hey, I'm one of the crew. Like, I get to be in on the votes. And also, I want to learn how to shoot, and I want to learn how to fly that helicopter in case something happens to you. In fact, I kind of want something to happen to you. It's the way it almost feels. But I love how smart she is about that. Fran is definitely the smartest character in this movie, easily. So good on her. Maybe that's more social commentary. Men are idiots and women should be listened to and should lead. I don't know. And I like that, or I shouldn't say I like. I find it interesting that Peter says that he knows how to abort a baby. Is that something that they teach to SWAT team members? Like, go in here and evacuate this girl's womb. Like, what? That's an interesting line that he has. Roger gets himself killed because he's just too cocky. And he does lose it. I mean, Peter even tries to snap him out of it. He's like, dude, you're not just playing with your fucking life here. You're playing with mine. And he kind of tries to snap it back into place, but he's still out. Now, I feel like the consistency between being bit and dying and changing in these films are drastically changing. Although I suppose if your bite wound would drain you of blood, like if they bit into your neck or something that would kill you quick, then it would make sense that you'd come back right after you died. And then if it was just a bite, it takes 3 days for the infection to spread in this. But I love I'll tell you, I like the relationship between Peter and Roger. Like, I'm more connected to that relationship in this by far more than Fran and Steven. Like, they have, I mean, there's nothing gay going on between Peter and Roger. I don't see any evidence to support that. So if anybody's going to be like, well, maybe, no. So Peter and Roger just become really good friends. And, Peter really does care for Roger when he's dying. He constantly is the one caring for him, even if they're like, Fran's dressing his wounds or whatever. But Peter is the one in the room with him. He's holding his hand. He's fucking, checking his face. He's really cares for this guy, and I love the I love them running through the malls, doing the trucks and all that stuff. It's very fun. And when Roger leaves this movie, the film just loses a lot of its fun. It's not a downgrade. It's just the fun is kind of sucked out of the film from that point. You know? And it's missing Roger, for sure. I really wish Roger wouldn't have had to die so early into the film, but it is what it is, and that's the way it is. He also gets blood in his eyes, which I guess in this world doesn't mean you get the virus, but it should. And oh man, when Roger gets his wound pressed into, and they like grab his thumbs, and the zombie puts his thumbs into the wound. That's fucking brutal. Roger's already acting like a zombie when he's playing the arcade games. He's already like, he's like half zombie by that point. That was good. And I like that they build a makeshift wall that blocks out the stairwell that leads up to them. Really smart. And they just start using the air shafts as their means of travel throughout, although they kind of give up that positioning very easily. Why they stay behind to fight the bikers instead of just jumping up in the airplane and leaving, I'll never understand that. Like, they have to know their beat. He's like, let's not make it easy for him. It's like, just get the fuck out of there. You're beat, man. There's he calls them a trained army. He said these guys are living on the road. Now, that of course isn't shown in this movie because these bikers are absolutely fucking moronic. There's no way these guys survived as long as they have. The shit they do in this movie, you want to talk about arrogance? This isn't just arrogance, this is pure stupidity. Like, I'm going to take my fucking blood pressure while there's a bunch of zombies, like, tiled around me. How did that guy survive? How did that guy survive the zombie apocalypse this long? There's no fucking way. The shit that they do in this movie makes those biker guys, nothing to them makes any sense. But I love that they're led by Tom Savini. And I like Tom Savini a lot as an actor, especially in this and From Dusk Till Dawn. I think, off the top of my head, those are my two favorite performances of his. He also plays the Creep in Creepshow 2 as well, which is kind of cool. But I really like him in this, and I would have liked him to do more. I would have liked him to be more of a lead in some horror flicks. That would have been fun. I'm going to look up his career and see if I missed out on some of his acting credits, because I definitely could have. I have not seen every movie, contrary to popular belief. And no to the proposal, we already talked about that. Ben Muntz, Zombies Should Be Dead, we already talked about that. That makes no sense to me. And I also thought that there might be even a metaphor here to how some people treat the world and how some others treat the world. Kind of like there's the Fran, the Steven, the Peters, the Rogers of the world who go in and they fortify things, and they just kind of take what they need. Like this mall provides, and they go in and they treat it well, and they get what they need from it, but they take care of it because it takes care of them, much like people who take care of the earth and want to give back to it. And then the bikers break in, and it's like breaking into paradise and just trashing the thing. And when they're in there like 5 minutes, they let the zombies back in. They fucking trash all the stores. They grab all of everything. They just smash everything. They're literally just breaking things for absolutely no reason. Smashing TVs with hammers. It's just like that's some people in the world that just want to let the world burn. And then there's other people who respect that this thing has given them sanctuary and life. So I think that's another interesting little dynamic there. Metaphorically speaking. I just showed The Mask with Jim Carrey to my kids. They loved it. And I already talked about all that. Now, they do play around with the memories of zombies here, and they even say on the news that they have like 5% functionality of their brain. So there's some bit of them in there. And when Steven becomes a zombie, he leads them straight to the wall. I also like that when he's breaking down the wall, he tries to chew through it because it's zombie's like main weapon. But he's like on the wall. like trying to bite it. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, he leads them straight up there, like instantly right there. And then when all the zombies are outside the mall, they're like, why did they come here? And he's like, they don't know why they need to be here. They just remember that they want to be. So there is some memory, and being at the mall is not going to be the best place then, because there's a lot of people who used to hang out at the mall all the time at this time. I feel like it should be a bunch of teenagers though outside. That would make a little more sense. At least a lot more of them anyways, should I say. And yeah, and they can even climb ladders. I don't know, that one seems pretty iffy to me, because if they can climb ladders, I feel like they should be able to climb all sorts of things. Like if they have that knowledge and that ability to climb a ladder, and like the type of ladder that these are, like a rope ladder up to another ladder, and that they do it so simply, for me that means they could climb almost anything. So I don't know. And then yeah, we got Peter here. He wants to die, he's over it, and he goes into a room to kill himself. And I think this is Romero's kind of nod to Night of the Living Dead and how they killed the black guy at the end of that one, and maybe it sparked some controversy about what he was trying to say. Who knows? But in this one, the black guy takes his last moments and says, fuck this, I'm not dying. And he fights his way out, and he has this like 18 moment. It's almost like the music sounds like, and he busts through and he gumps up the ladder, and he just jumps in the helicopter, and it's like, how much gas do we have? And she's like, not much. And he's like, all right. And it's like, where the hell did they go? I'd like to know what happens to Fran and Peter. Do they become a couple? Does he? Do they last very long? Does she successfully land that helicopter? She's like, oh shit, I forgot how to fly this thing. Yeah, and then it also ends on dawn. I like that when they're flying away, it's dawn, and you see the dead out there at dawn. So you got Dawn of the Dead at the very, very end of the film. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the fact that the black guy at the end of this movie, in his zero moment, like in a 0 hour, decides he wants to live. So really good stuff all around. Love the film, of course, but that was fun. That was fun. Hopefully my audio is okay on this one. This mic is not great. It does some clicking, some like it's on my Slasher Sunday video, a little bit of it. So I tried to fix it again. I have a new one in the mail. It's coming. It should be here on Thursday, I think. So until then, though, I hope this audio sounds good, or I'm going to be fucking furious. Other than that, see you next Monday.